Live from Capitol Hill. The Capitol has a day off, but War Room 2020 does not. President's Day. Monday, 17 February, year of our Lord 2020. Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller, 259 and 255 in a wake-up to Election Day. And boy, what a weekend. Live on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Salem Broadcasting, America's Voice.news, and now in our new affiliate, 99.1 in Chicago. 103.9 out in the Chicago suburbs. So love the Windy City. Glad the show's catching on out there. You get a taste of the nation's capital, but really the politics that's going to go over. Illinois is actually going to be quite important. We'll get to that. Illinois is going to be very important in the Democratic primary. In a couple of weeks, we're looking downrange. And speaking of downrange, gentlemen, massive weekend, a total, complete reset in the presidential election. And first, I want to talk about the laziness of the mainstream media. How did we get to President's Day weekend, and now we're talking about Bloomberg and Hillary Clinton? It's sucking all the action in the atmosphere, and Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren for the last year and a half is all the mainstream media told us this was all about. They never took Bernie seriously, didn't take Bloomberg seriously, didn't take Hillary seriously. Anytime I mentioned it, there'd be a complete belly laugh. All you heard was Warren and Biden. How do we? Those guys are totally. You agree? They're totally non-events.
Yeah, I mean, the mainstream media has been following the early state primary horse race, going from Iowa to New Hampshire and then to Nevada that's coming up next Saturday, completely oblivious to hundreds of millions of dollars of spending. This weekend is significant. When we put down kind of we put our little marks in the history books as far as where were the pivot
when
points.
Jason Miller becomes a new Theodore White and writes The Making of the President 2020, this will be a big weekend, right? This will be a chapter?
Yes, when I call Keith Urban at Javelin and start putting together my book deal, then we can do book deal Jason.
Anonymous Deuce.
But here's the serious. This was the first weekend where you had tough pieces, scrutiny pieces on Mayor Bloomberg in the Washington Post, in the New York Times, the Sunday shows, which, by the way, Bloomberg, too chicken to go and do them, but smartly too chicken to do it.
Too chicken or too smart?
Well, both.
Okay, but
both.
why would you, when you're spending $400 million, you don't need to do the Sunday shows. You're advertising on this. You own the Sunday shows.
Right, but also he knows he'd get chopped up. So his opponents were getting asked questions about him. So this was the first time when all the pressure, but then the Megaton bomb, the Drudge story on Saturday, saying that it might be a Bloomberg-Hillary ticket. That dominated all the news this weekend.
Yeah, let's be clear. The media woke up because Matt Drudge woke up, right? I mean, both of these guys have been checked out of this for a long time. And it sort of goes to show that while a lot of people out there have moved on from the Drudge Report as their sort of single go-to morning thing, the media is still heavily reliant on
because it's lazy. It goes to Drudge. The producer, the junior producer's got to put something together flatly. Look, Matt Drudge puts his name on very little. Mm-hmm. Most of it's links. This is direct reporting. And a couple of guys over the weekend said, "Oh no, the campaign." I said, "There's no denial." They said, "Oh no, we got to focus on what the debates or the town halls or the primaries." No denial. If Matt Drudge put his name on it, it's money good.
Yeah.
That directly came from senior people in the campaign, right?
Yeah, I think that's right, and he has not done something like that in a very long time either. So to have that, he's got very good sources on it.
And I think there's one other thing, too, with the media waking up, and Raheem's right. The Drudge story really is what snapped people to attention. But look, they're already...
He put a siren on it. It was the Mac Daddy, and he put a siren on it. And he put, Matt Drudge's name. Matt Drudge, this was a Matt Drudge doing the reporting. It's very rare.
He's listening to the show because I complained, remember 2 weeks ago or something? I said he doesn't put the siren on for anything big anymore. Suddenly we have the siren.
It was big.
But we've gone from the media only paying attention to Iowa and New Hampshire, ignoring everything else. Now they're completely ignoring Nevada and South Carolina, saying that they don't really matter. They're already saying, well, Bernie's already won Nevada. Nobody else can catch up. So that's basically, it's the cancel culture on, that Nevada win isn't really going to mean anything. And then South Carolina, everyone's going to, will that be Biden's official last stand? They've already written everything off. Now it's about Super Tuesday. Now they're skipping past all these primaries. It's fascinating to watch.
The Super Tuesday polls have not reset either because Biden is still a player in a number of those polls. As soon as he goes away after South Carolina, because he's going away, there's no money. He went to Wall Street last week, took the train up, sat in business, right? Poor guy, not even the quiet car. And he gets up there. He has two Wall Street functions. Half the crowd doesn't show up because they've already committed to Bloomberg.
Yeah, although there is, while we haven't seen the big, Super Tuesday polling push, we have seen some new things. Rasmussen out with the shock poll this morning. Bloomberg 26.
Rasmussen, the pollster of the deplorables.
Yes.
The best feel for anything relating to all things Trump.
Yes. So Rasmussen Research out with the new poll this morning, national. Bloomberg 26, Biden 22, Sanders 18, Mayor Pete 12, Klobuchar 7, Warren 6. He's already in first. I mean, people don't realize,
and not by a hair either.
Yeah, no, by outside the margin of error. I think it's a 3.5 point margin of error. When we wait, the magnitude.
This is a stunning poll.
The magnitude of delegates that are available on Super Tuesday. When we if you look at the trend line of where Bloomberg is going, when we wake up on that Wednesday, it's going to be over. Like it's going to go from wait, is this a real contest to oh, it's over. Like this is done because the race is coming up then on the 10th, 17th, 24th. Bloomberg surging are in first place in a bunch of these.
This is why this is important in Trump world, is that the counter to this is literally on the shoulders of the deplorables. This has to be what they're trading, the Faustian bargain that the Democratic Party is making for the money of Bloomberg, in the capital of Bloomberg, in the data, in the organization, is that this is a mobilization election. They're prepared to throw 15 to 20% of the Bernie people under the bus, right, to dare the Trump movement, to sign them up and to get working class African Americans and Hispanics, make this a real movement issue, and to win in a dogfight in November where you actually bring out more people with 1/10 the money.
Yeah, I think there was one other notable thing, too, with the media this morning. It almost seemed as if they were defending Mayor Bloomberg against these negative attacks
they are
that are coming
defending
at him.
If Trump had said the cruel and the premeditated things that Bloomberg has said, it would be a complete meltdown. They'd be around the White House now. They'd have the media tanks out there. It'd be nuts. Bloomberg stuff was so mean, so nasty, so personal, and across a broad range of issues. How women look, aborting babies, kill it. The thing about the African American nannies. Right, it was just everything. Everything was just so cruel, and then the farmers. I mean, you just go on. The farmers are all idiots. Everything's cruel. Everything's premeditated, and they're basically defending it right now.
On Morning Joe this morning, Adrian Elrod, former executive director of the DNC, came around to her, and it's kind of one of the things like, how are Democratic voters going to react to this? You're the former ED of the Democratic Committee. What's their take going to be? And she basically held up her resume and said, Mike, please call. Like, doing Morse code with her eyes, like, I'd like
But
to
how
work for
important
you.
is that? Let's talk about the spending, because all these people the Democrats right now don't want to be caught on the wrong side of this. And they know that this money train is just going to blow through, because this is the sad thing. The Democrats really don't stand for anything anymore. No. They don't stand for anything. It's a somebody said, oh, well, you're the first guy to identify it's a party for rent. It's not a party for rent. They're selling it. Okay, they're selling it.
That's how bad they hate Trump.
This is one of those things where the bankers walk in. What's that thing now where guys are underwater on their houses? This is one of those forced sales. This is a forced sale of the Democratic Party. Guys are selling. That's why she's got the resume up. Nobody wants to attack him on these. You see all the shows this weekend. They just sit there, even if they disagree, they don't want to be caught on the wrong side of this, because they realize he's gonna be writing big checks in April and May.
They realize half their phone book is already being employed by him.
It's stunning. By the way, the New York Times front page piece on Sunday morning: $10 billion in philanthropy and political contributions he's given over the time. That's how he's bought this thing. It's a pure oligarch. I mean, Raheem, you've seen this in London. You've seen how you've seen how London's changed when the oligarchs rolled in there. This is what an oligarch does. And by the way, if Hillary's the person, and we got to run, the Constitution says can't be both New York. Yeah, I'll be Florida. I'll be Colorado. I got homes all over.
And to be clear, what he means by that is that I will buy the state of Colorado or I will buy the state of Florida. Like, not just move there.
Well, let's talk about
of course the elephant in the room being he won't want to serve a full term. Who becomes president then?
What? It's crooked.
That's it.
It's crooked. Or AOC.
Crooked's revenge.
Crooked's revenge. By the way, he's going to be rolling on the AOC wing too. That's the next thing for the payoffs. She's supposed to be so anti-billionaire. Let's go to how do people get more information this, because now this is, and how about Twitter? Can we get more feedback on Twitter? Real time about how I cut you guys off, how our sound sucks, how Vish is not doing his job. So I love the Twitter feedback on how bad the sound is. I could pound on Vish before the show starts, right?
If
our sound quality is related to Vish's handling on the dials, hey, the audience is screwed. Okay,
heavy-handed Vish.
Heavy-handed Vish.
If you go to warroom.org, you can sign up for everything the podcast. We have a lot of reviews coming in, and we're very grateful for them. Lots of 5-star reviews for the show. And we thank people a lot. If you want to tweet at us in real time, tweet and make sure you include the hashtag WarRoom2020, hashtag WarRoom2020, and we'll read your tweets on air if they're good. If they're bad, we won't read them on air.
Remember, Election Day, I like the bad ones. Election Day. By the way, I learned how not to cut you guys off. Election Day's only 8 months away.
You did what, by the way?
Can you guys jump in here? No, we're going to return with War Room 2020 in a second.
War Room 2020. Bannon, Miller, Kassan.
Live from Capitol Hill, it's episode 7, War Room 2020. And we thought, the war room impeachment, which this show, started with, was the predicate for the campaign. That was kind of like preseason. Game on this weekend, right? How does a guy throw down, and this is the point I want to continue to refer to because it will be the rest of the campaign. Quantity has a quality all its own. You've been doing this your entire adult life. Have you ever seen numbers at this scale? Was it $400 million from Bloomberg in just advertising?
Yeah, and so go through literally just the advertising numbers. I mean, he's 10 times ahead of the next non-billionaire candidate. Bloomberg has spent more than all of the other candidates combined, including Steyer, who's now up to $193 million. So to put him in context, Bloomberg's at about 420. Keep in mind, I say at about because as of like tomorrow or the next day, I mean, who knows what he's going to be increased up to. So he's at about 418. Steyer, 194.
Which is a number that boggles the mind, too.
Boggles the mind. Yeah. Sanders is at 42 million. Mayor Pete is at 32. Liz Warren is at 21. Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, is at 12. Klobuchar is at 11. And then you get into some of the super PACs and things like that. But the fact that Bloomberg is spending that much, let me just put this in context. So let's take Illinois. That's coming up in a couple of weeks here. 2/3 of the state is in the Chicago DMA, the designated market area. That's the media market that you
Very
buy.
important. This is inside baseball.
This is way inside baseball. And so to buy...
But the deplorables need this.
Yes. To buy Chicago broadcast, for example, you got to spend, it's somewhere around $600 a point, meaning that if you...
What does a point mean for the audience?
So that's a gross ratings point. So the number of, essentially it's a measurement of how many times people see an ad. And so if you want...
why is that important? Because you can drive not just brand awareness, you can actually drive people's interest because by the points.
Yes, and so that's the way that the media takes audience size for a particular show. So say like The View for their day part might have like a 4.5 share versus something take like a local WGN that might have a 5 share then like in the 5 o'clock block, and then you take something to prime time like Law and Order, the SUV as Chris Moltisanti would call it, that might be like a 6 share, something like that. So you stack things up. In Chicago, it cost you it's $600 a point. So it's about $600,000 for a week of TV. Now, here's the thing. None of these Democratic candidates, someone who's spent overall $12 million, someone who's overall spent $21 million, no one has a week to do that, can spend that for a week, let alone for, months on end. Bloomberg's out there just blowing it out. Then you take Los Angeles, which, by the way, statewide in Los Angeles, I think statewide in Los Angeles is like $2.5 or $3 million a week. That's
normal candidates just cannot do this. You can't, no matter how good your small donor, no matter how good your bundler is. Look at Joe Biden. We've been told for a year and a half that Joe Biden's the front runner. He has no money. Michael Bloomberg spent $420 million. Biden spent 12. In other words, if you just go above, he's almost 2x above $400 million of what Biden spent. It's a scale, and in politics, particularly in these primaries where people are just coming aware of, what's happening. It's a scale. In fact, if you back out Steyer, the rest of the fields have spent roughly $100 million. And this is probably it's a big number for these primaries. He spent 4 times that.
Right. This is why we saw on Friday polling from Florida, for example, that has Bloomberg at 27, Biden at 26. And that's March 17th, so 2 weeks after Super Tuesday. Or we saw in Georgia, for example, he's already tied with Bernie Sanders at 14. But these numbers are starting to move in these states.
Big.
We're going to wake up, again, I said this in the last block,
yep.
we're going to wake up that Wednesday after Super Tuesday and realize it's over.
Okay, so the key takeaway for 2020, because what we're trying to do is coach you up, get you smarter, make sure that the pundits you're listening to TV are all morons, lazy morons. Here's a fact. For 18 months, all they've talked about is Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. She's putting her policy papers out. Those two people are not relevant. They are literally not relevant. What's relevant is what we're talking about, right? And he may have made one fatal mistake. He made a move on the Bernie Bros, right? How bad is that, Raheem?
That's right. And in fact, Steve, since we do production notes on air now, at the end of every segment.
Well, if he showed up anytime before 3 minutes to broadcast, we could actually have it.
I'm a one take kind of guy. I don't need prep.
God, you sound like Trump every day. Hey, I'm a field player, right?
At the end of every segment, instead of asking me what the web URL is, we can now go to what people are saying,
Right.
because we're already getting tweets in, and actually about the question you just asked me, Harrison.
Was that my brilliant idea last night?
It was
Mr. No non-social media.
It was the idea that you remembered I gave you 3 months ago. Yes, that's a joke. It was Steve's brilliant idea. Harrison McKenna asks, "Will the rabid Bernie voters actually show up to vote for Bloomberg?"
Rabid or rabid?
Rabid.
Yeah.
All they want is freebies, which Bloomberg will never give them. That's sort of to the point of your question, but more to the point is this aggression that we're seeing now from the Bloomberg campaign.
Talk about that.
To the Bernie Bros.
What did he do, and why did he do it?
So Bloomberg is punching left. Remember, on the show last week, we all noted that actually, while the candidates of the left have been attacking Bloomberg, Bloomberg hasn't been punching back. He's been turning his fire on the president. This is the first time they've punched back. Jason, the ad that came out, was it yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening? The Bloomberg web ad. It's basically a series of angry tweets from Bernie Bros that are aimed at establishment Democrats, including Michael Bloomberg. Nasty things like the sort of stuff you saw during the Scottish referendum. Remember the Nats, cyber Nats? And you saw during the last British general election with the Momentum group, the far left group that Jeremy Corbyn. And
this is their complaining about the Pepes in the summer of 16, right?
Yeah, and Bloomberg is saying basically, this isn't the kind of discourse we want.
How tough is it? This is about the culinary union out in. It started with this kind of fracas in. It's been going before, but it got highlighted about this fracas in Nevada, correct?
Yeah, I mean the ad itself isn't. I mean, it's not some damning.
But how
thing
bad has the Bernie Bros been? How tough have they been?
Democrats have been whining about it quite a bit.
But they've been tougher than Bernie's been.
I got that, but it's not brutal. I mean, it's tough, but they play. It's like little, they play like little lambs, right? The stuff is not anywhere near how rough some of the Pepe stuff.
Yeah, and the memes aren't good. They're not sort of that quality. But that just shows you, even though it's not that bad, the Bloomberg camp feels it needs to punch back. So why? Number one, because I think the Bloomberg camp feels it can unite all the non-Bernie side against the Bernie side and bring everyone under the Bloomberg tent in one fell swoop, right? You bring over the Biden people, bring over the Klobuchar
100%.
people, and say, hey, look, these guys are crazy. You don't need to go there. The other thing is, he does need to pick a fight on the left, and that's a perfect fight to pick.
Why does he need to pick a fight on the left?
He needs to pick a fight on the left because he needs to show that he's the king of the left right now, right? He needs to come out there and be like, hey, now look, if it were me, I would advise him steer clear a little bit more. But I think this gives us an insight as to whether or not he appears at debate as well.
Well, and that's the point of him doing this, is because you have these candidate town halls on CNN coming up. You have the debate Wednesday. We should know in this next 24 hours if Bloomberg is going to be in it or not. His advisors say that if he qualifies, he needs one more national poll. Based on Rasmussen, you'd think Bloomberg is going to get it. But this is to basically put his footprint on the entire week.
But help me out here. It looks like Nevada is another fiasco in the making because Bernie's in the lead. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but there are no coincidences. What are they talking about already? May not even have the vote. Where's Perez?
Yeah.
How does that guy still have a job?
Should be fired.
It's outrageous.
He totally should be fired. No, they're already saying they're not going to have the results on Saturday. How do you not have that?
Well, the inside scoop on that is one of the guys who recently resigned from the Iowa DNC.
Guy, yeah.
now interviewing for the DNC and leaked to the New York Times that it was actually the local party's fault, not the national. That's how he kept Tom Perez's job to get a job.
Episode 7, we're going to return in just a moment.
War Room 2020 with Stephen K. Bannon, Jason Miller, and Raheem Kassam. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
While the Capitol sleeps, we're alive. It's President's day off here in Washington, D.C., except for the War Room 2020, Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller. Episode 7. Raheem, how can you find getting real-time heckles from the... We love Twitter, folks. Go on the Twitter handle. You're going to see that we're asking for live comments from now on as the show.
And we're getting them.
And I got one here for you. And jump in here, guys. I've got one here for you. If you, by the way, if you tweet at us, if you hashtag War Room 2020, I'm following the live stream all show long and we'll bring the best of the tweets. One of them that just came in, Steve. Love the banter between Stephen K. Bannon, Raheem Kassam, and Jason Miller. I can't access this insight anywhere. I have watched every single episode. Bannon predicted Bloomberg and Hillary months ago.
Yeah, 18 months actually, but it did it from
But
the
who's
desert.
counting?
Who's counting? Let's go back to this Bernie thing is very important. Here's why. It's the path to victory, folks. Because the Bloomberg neoliberal, neocon establishment detest the Pepes, they detest the deplorables, and they particularly detest. There's something about the Bernie bros. There's something about that aspect of Bernie's guys they just hate, right?
Yeah, and I think Bloomberg walked in a little bit of a trap here because, again, he's going after a classification of people. And this is, if you go back to the stop and frisk, it wasn't so much that Bloomberg came out and said we need to clamp down on crime or that it wants to be tough on crime or and maybe he had a little bit un-PC way of doing it. His language, he talks about people in classes. You saw it with the comments in the newspaper over the weekend talking about his former employees. He talks about people in classes. You look at the way that he dissed all the farmers. He talks about them in classes.
The black nannies.
Yes, and now we're looking at this video he did to basically disenfranchise this entire group of voters who, by the way, are the most passionate, most motivated voters in the entire Democratic base, are the Bernie bros. And he basically just wrote off right there and said all the Bernie bros. He basically said they're all, terrible, mean thugs, fill in the blank on
They're
everything.
left-wing Pepes.
Yes. That's exactly.
Can we play? Is the ad not clear enough to play on the? Talk about the ad. What does he actually say?
It's just music. So.
Yeah, it's basically just music, but it puts
over the quotes.
Over the quotes. Here's like mean tweets and mean Facebook comments that people have made. But again, it's assigning that type of blame to every Sanders supporter. Look, I mean, these guys are a passionate group. That's why we always talk about them. We might disagree on a lot of policy issues, but we respect your passion.
I want your guys' opinion on this. Here's what I find very impressive about what they did this weekend. There were 2 massive strategic moves, and for young organizations just coming together, you guys know this. You ran Brexit. You ran the put together Nigel Farage operation. You were there with Cruz. You've been doing this for 20 or 30 years. To make 2 massive moves in a weekend. Number one, the Clinton move to Bigfoot, all the negative stuff coming up, but also to say, hey, Bannon's been saying, I'm going to buy the party, and she's going to come in and take, represent Democrats. I'm going to co-opt that. I'm going to preempt that. At the same time, you make a strategic move against the far left. It shows you institutionally they've come together. They're very sophisticated, and we have to analyze this. We have to understand it because this is what we're up against. This is a group that's already got their sea legs.
And the precision in which they're going through it. So we had the big Drudge bombshell on Saturday with with Crooked, and then yesterday the announcement that one of Crooked's close friends is going to come on and advisor. They're playing this.
Her closest friend in D.C., the social director, right? That's another big get.
This is
another smart get.
So well mapped out, so well timed. I mean, this is something that again. We never saw this with Crooked in 2016. Crooked,
exactly.
Look, they were such a disaster.
They're supposed to be, remember, you're talking about the Clinton apparatus has been around for 30 years, right? They're not as sophisticated as this.
No, this blows away what Obama did. Everyone talks about Obama having these miraculous races in 2008, 2012. This blows it away. The level of sophistication they're coming through, and they're just... Now, here's the thing. When you have unlimited money, makes it a little easier.
But here's why the fix is in. Let's go back. You talk about stop and frisk. You talk about things that only Donald Trump could overcome. Something like that, a media personality, somebody that's McLuhan-esque. Every other politician been destroyed. Bloomberg's blown through 3 or 4 this weekend, right? Or which will all be killers. The cruelness, and ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had an opportunity, go back to the Washington Post, New York Times stories and get the raw quotes. These quotes are brutal. They're mean-spirited. They're cruel. They're premeditated. He thought about this. He did it over a number of years. It's like on Monday morning, it doesn't count, right? They moved on.
Yeah, and the media is rushing to his defense because they're so triggered by the orange man bad that they want to go and completely cut it out. And Steve, just put things in context. I mean, obviously we see the ads. I mean, if you turn on CNN, it's basically he owns the CNN channel. They pop up and do commentary every now and then. Over the weekend, I went to YouTube to pull up a video for one of my favorite songs. And the first thing that pops up is John Cougar Mellencamp. That's not who I was trying to pull up. Playing his guitar, talking about how Mike Bloomberg is great. So before I could even get to the video I was trying to watch, I had to watch John Cougar Mellencamp hype up Michael Bloomberg. It's everywhere.
How did they get to the live Twitter? How did they get to Twitter to get to us?
Hashtag, when you're tweeting, make sure you include the hashtag War Room 2020.
Okay, we'll be back, episode 7, in a moment.
War Room 2020. Bannon, Miller, Kassan.
John Fredericks Radio Network, Salem Broadcast Radio Network, the platform of streaming for the Trump movement, americasvoice.news, in 99.1 and 103.9 in Chicago, in its suburbs. We're going to be announcing other stations in the weeks to come. I want to thank everybody in Chicago, and particularly the great reception we've had out there. Really, really, really thank folks in Chicago, Raheem and Jason. Okay, let's wrap up with Bloomberg. You got so much other. What's the blowback from the audience? That's the most important thing, is commentary.
Well, actually, honestly, I'm enjoying reading a lot of these tweets more than listening to you guys. No, some of the insight here is great, and the questions are great.
We did this as a diversion for you to give you something to do.
That's
right?
perfectly fine with me. Cave Dweller.
Dry January is past.
Says, I've been following you guys for years. Really enjoy the new show. I hope you make some money so you can afford a heater for Raheem. It's unfortunate he has to wear a scarf at work. I fully agree with that, by the way. People are asking questions, though. With Bloomberg and his money surging, is Bernie's best move going forward to force Bloomberg on stage, and why?
Brilliant.
And then another asks,
Brilliant.
what can the grassroots folks do to help defeat the Bloomberg oligarchy?
Okay, let's take the first thing on Bloomberg on the stage, and we're going to give you. These are brilliant. We always say that we provide the news, you provide the commentary. The listeners and the viewers here are fantastic. Let's go to, how's he going to force him?
Well,
Trump's already been trying to do it.
Trump's been trying to. He's let off of it the last few days. But look, Bernie, every single interview, and we've seen him do it a little bit in the rallies. He was doing it in Las Vegas until the topless woman came and interrupted his event. Welcome to Bernie Sanders 2020. But look, Bernie Sanders, every single sentence, every interview, he has to be going after Bloomberg to draw this contrast. This is not who the Democratic Party stands for. Flush him out. He has to be on the debate stage. He has to take these tough interviews. Because here's the deal. Neither Bernie, nor Biden, nor Mayor Pete, nor Amy, nor Elizabeth Warren, to the extent she's even still in the race, none of them can land a punch themselves on Mayor Bloomberg. The only way they're going to do it is by flushing them out and making Bloomberg talk. When Bloomberg talks, then he starts having problems. There's a reason he's not doing the interviews. There's a reason he doesn't speak direct to camera in any of his TV ads. That's the only way they're going to slow this guy down.
One thing we have to remember is that I think it was 2.2 billion versus 700 million or something like that, the numbers for Clinton versus Trump. It's not about money. At the end of the day, it's got to be about passion. It's got to be getting out there. What you have to do now is go online, sign up, come into our commentary section, sign up for your local MAGA meetups. Get engaged. It's engagement, engagement, engagement. We got to get people out to the polls. You got to register people to vote. You have to keep in touch. You have to go around and start talking to your neighbors about the Trump program, about what's really working. And then you've got to get people to the polls. This is all going to come down November 3rd, state by state, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, who can bring out people to vote. And if you don't think that money, and he's an oligarch. Here we got to, this is unique in American history, right? That you have an oligarch that is now trying to buy the Democratic Party and try to buy the presidency. And if you want to stop it, and here's the thing, like in 18 when I run around the country, I don't hear any whining. We know what we have to do. This is a simple plan, aggressively executed. You have to get engaged. You have to get your neighbors signed up. Somebody told me that there's 30 million or something number of evangelical Christians are not registered to vote. Well, hey, that doesn't hack it. This is where you're going to have to get engaged, particularly in the battleground states. And battleground states are now places like North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, right? Florida then is going to be in play. We got to put our shoulder to the wheel, not just in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, which have to, in Minnesota, in Maine too, New Hampshire. This is going to be a nationwide fight, and it's going to be won precinct by precinct on November 3rd of 2020. And we promise you, the promise we'll make is that we will give you blinding insights about what's really going on, not the stupid, ridiculous, moronic happy talk. And this is now a fact. It's not my opinion. For 18 months, all they talked about was Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, right? They are irrelevant to this entire thing. And they'll be out in 10 days or 2 weeks, I think. Or they're already out.
That good old New York Times endorsement.
He said that helped a lot. But no, this is going to be about engagement. This is going to be about engagement. Now, the other aspect of this is I've never seen, and this is what Drudge is also a tell, that now Bloomberg drives the earned media. He's, Trump has done this now since he came down the escalator in June of 2016 up until this weekend. He has dominated doing that. Drudge, I think, made a tell. Now Bloomberg's doing it. And the question is, this process of trying to destroy Trump, this ongoing process of trying to destroy Trump and making him, a secondary figure to Bloomberg's rise. This is why we have to punch back on this more than ever. This is why we need an official apparatus to do this. And so, Jason, over the weekend, there were some other stories out there that made my head blow up about the Republicans trying to toss the football, or who's got responsibility. So
Jordan Carney at The Hill had a story out yesterday with the headline, Senate braces for fight over impeachment whistleblower testimony. While I still think this is all a bunch of, let's play essentially 3-card Monty.
Yeah, I actually felt good, and then Jason took the air out of my balloon. He says, "You're not thinking this through. This is for the mooks. You just bit."
So here's the thing. So Richard Burr, who's been very dismissive of the idea of calling for the whistleblower in the past, was asked It was asked by The Hill, so it's a direct quote to The Hill. It's not pulling it from some other aggregated report. Asked if he was willing to formally compel and subpoena the whistleblower to testify. Senate Intel Chairman Richard Burr didn't rule out the possibility. Quote, "I think you can rest assured that I'm prepared to do whatever we have to interview the whistleblower," Burr said. So here's the thing. I think this is a bunch of 3-card Monty, a little less talk, a little bit more action. I don't understand why Senate Judiciary, under the esteemed leadership of Lindsey Graham, is not the one that's doing it. Lindsey, if you're listening, no one cares about the FISA stuff. We need to focus on the whistleblower number 2 who disappeared, everybody else.
Well, it does. Lindsey's now broadened. He said FISA now includes Crossfire Hurricane. So if he's going to do FISA and Crossfire Hurricane, you're half of the way there. Yep. You still need whistleblower. You need number 2 whistleblower. We need Brennan, which ties Crossfire Hurricane together with the whistleblower. All of that. We need that. And, hey, throw in the Bidens, right? Let's throw in the Biden. And Joe's not going to be relevant here shortly, so it doesn't matter. You can go back, talk about his corruption as VP.
So on the good side, we have a quote also in the story from Senator Roy Blunt from Missouri, who's a member of the Senate Intel Committee and also GOP leadership, saying he'd support subpoenaing the whistleblower if Burr takes the path. Quote, "I'd be supportive of whatever it takes, including a subpoena." And that he thought the committee would probably be willing to do this in any reasonable way that the whistleblower would be willing to come forward.
Is this losing steam? This is so relevant to what President Trump needs. Look, President Trump can't do it all. He can't run the country. He can't negotiate with China. He can't get the trade deals. He can't rebuild the economy. He can't be fighting America First national security policy and also going around the country and doing stuff like Daytona 500. He can't do everything. Other people have got to pick up the deplorables. They got to pick it up on a grassroots ground game. But the people, elected officials in the Senate, have to bear some burden here, don't they?
We have the majority. We can call for the hearing. Let's call for the hearing. Let's do it. I don't want to hear about planning. I don't want to hear if Mark Zaid, the whistleblower's attorney, is available on any days.
Disney World.
Exactly. Disney on Ice was actually in D.C. this weekend. I did not see Mark Zaid there.
We'll be back in a second.
War Room 2020. Bannon, Miller, Kassan.
Ep7, in February of 2001, Dale Earnhardt died in a tragic accident on the Daytona 500. The next day, half of America, particularly in the South, in the Midwest, did not go to work. The other half of the nation said, "Who the hell is Dale Earnhardt?" Talked to us. The President of the United States did something's never been done, Raheem, a massive visual.
Yeah, flying into and in fact driving the beast around the Daytona 500 track ahead of the race that didn't conclude yesterday. The race
and also, gentlemen, start your engines, right?
and gentlemen, start your engines, absolutely. But it attracted. We were talking about this in the break, Jason. So jump in here. It attracted the ire of liberals to the point what I wouldn't have even imagined something like this could do. And I'm going to get into this real quick. Maggie Haberman at the New York Times tweets a picture of the beast driving around the track, says, using the official apparatus of government for what appears to be a political event. And the reporters all chiming in saying, oh, this wasn't on the president's calendar, therefore it's a campaign event, therefore he's using the government car to campaign at the Daytona 500. Nobody realized that in 2011-12, Obama had the Secret Service pay millions of dollars to introduce several what ended up being called Ground Force One armored buses to take Obama and his team around the country for political campaigning. That was the apparatus of government being spent there. But that was okay with the New York Times. This, the Daytona 500, isn't.
And the liberals, I couldn't believe how triggered they got, because the president had been talking about it. They even teased it out. I think it was John Roberts from Fox News teased it out that they might take the beast around the track, and everyone's putting out all the memes and all the, with like a 45 emblazoned on the side of the beast. But then you saw the actual images of the beast with all the cars behind it. It looks so badass.
It's amazing.
It looks so cool.
It's a fabulous piece of
And here was the
stagecraft.
thing. You actually had NASCAR drivers that were tweeting out, the young gal, the 18-year-old driver was like, I hope to get my helmet signed by President Trump. Don Jr. replied back to her, like, DM me. I might know someone. Then they had a great picture of the president, Melania. By the way, Melania, was there having a great time. One of the drivers tweeted out, I wasn't sure what the reaction would be, but he came over, took selfies, talked to us, spent a whole bunch of time with us. This is the retail politician that Bloomberg cannot be. When Donald Trump is out there on the stump doing his retail, just being him,
Connecting with people.
in
a visceral way that a robot like Bloomberg's, you can't buy that. You can't coach it. You either got it or you don't.
Right. This is how you get the stadium full of people showing up and cheering. It was great. I think it unified the mega world, but even people just all NASCAR nation, everyone looked at this and like, this is pretty cool. I mean,
This is why this is going to be a battle for the ages. It's money, it's power, it's modern media, it's also Trump's connection to the American people. It's Bloomberg and Clinton making the decision. They still don't get what 2016 was about. It was about the managed decline of this country by our elites and the rejection of that by working class people. Bernie bros, the Bernie movement, if you have any pride, any dignity, President Trump respects you guys, okay? You are not going to get... The disrespect that they are shown is shocking to me. Right, people who want to win elections. I mean, hear what they're doing out there is so fantastic. Raheem, what's the Twitter feed? People can get to it.
Hashtag War Room 2020. Tweet at us. Even when we're not live, we'll keep looking at them and read them on the show tomorrow.
Okay, pandemic is next. All about China.